Today's the day, folks. That's what I think. I am Phoenix. I am a chess expert, a risk master. We're trying to break my personal best record of 62 puzzles before I strike out, get 3 strikes on chess.com puzzle rush. Let's jump right back into it. I promise you, we're going to bring this one home in spectacular fashion. So I'm going to try to teach you as much as I possibly can about all things chess here, but most importantly, how we calculate things. And I am wondering where we're going to start with this one, but let's start as we always do by counting the material. 2 rooks for white, 1 rook for black, and my God, the pawns, right? So many pawns for white, not so many for us. So we're missing a 1 pawn, right? Yeah, but more importantly, this guy's a passer. So we have to win at least a rook, preferably a queen, if we're going to beat this puzzle. Now we have an undefended queen, undefended rook, an undefended rook here, and we have a king. So I see that we have pieces on a line like this. So it's probably a good idea to try to figure out a way to get this light squared bishop to that line. That would be pretty good. But it doesn't look very feasible at the moment because there's a pawn in the way, and also that square is undefended. There's nobody sitting here to guard the bishop. So we also have these targets connected on the back line. You guys know this is how I like to force yourself to find tactics when you know there's something there and you just can't see it automatically. This is how you get that like system 2 slow thinking going. So we connect the targets like this, and now I know I want to get a piece to the back rank. So that's how I figure out the squares. Now let's take a look at what we've got attacking these squares. We've got these guys, and we've got this. And this must be the first move, I'm sure of it, because it's the only move in the position, right? I'm probably not going to be using these guys too much. So we have to also note that we are about to lose even more material if we let white off the hook. But the fact is, there's only a rook around the white king and some pawns, whereas we have 2 pieces attacking the king. So I'm going to try this one first. And then I think the king is forced to go here. And wouldn't this be nice if we could go there and checkmate? But we cannot. There is a queen there. So basically, we have to figure out how we want to deliver a check on some other square, like this back one. Now, if we go check, and the king moves, then we go check, and the queen comes back. But the line continues, right? Because we can go check here. And I'm not sure how we're going to continue from there. So there's not really much of a way to continue after the king goes here. So we have to try something else. So let's try check. And then the king moves. And now instead of this check, which gets us a queen block, what if we went check or check? Well, this one seems pretty dumb. There's a pawn there, and then we're definitely losing. So let's go the other way. So check here. And the king will be forced to move back. And as I've said many, many, many times to you, if you watch this channel a lot, by the way, go down and hit subscribe if you want to learn these patterns over and over again and learn how to think in a chess position. That's what this channel is all about. So anyway, back to the show. So we're going to have a king here. And what we've done is we've repositioned the queen to this square. Now I think we can take this guy. Check. And then if the king goes in the corner, it's mate. And if the king goes this way, it's knight mate, isn't it? That was pretty straightforward. I think we've checked everything. Let's just actually be very sure because this is a 2900 level puzzle. So check, king, check, only move, right? Yes, only move. Check. And then we've got 2 different moves, but this is the key. That's a mate. And then the other way, I will put a queen here. If you go this way, I will put the queen there. So that looks pretty good to me. I didn't think that was too difficult. That was a nice little warm-up puzzle. So how did we do that? We found the targets and we understood what we were going after. And then it's just simple calculation. So as I've said over and over again, anytime you are playing a move and the king has 1 response, chances are it's probably the right move. So here, I like noticing that this king is in the center of the board. And of course, we're going to count the material. And we're going to realize that white has 2 passed pawns. So in any endgame, white is winning because this king cannot guard this pawn while also guarding this pawn over here. So it's just not possible. The only counterplay would be this, this, and this, making a passer. But I feel like white would queen in the meantime. So I think our goal here, since we have even material, is either to win the rook, which is hanging, or simply to trade off all the material. And then we're definitely golden. So I see I have a check, and 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 I have checks here as well. And I have this one and this one. So that's lots of things to think about. So I can actually end up getting myself mated if I go like check here, and then queen check, and then I go king up, saying like, oh yeah, go ahead and take me. I want you to take me so that I'm, I can use my rook and take this other pawn or something like that. So let's say, yeah, they block the check, so check, and then they block the check. So I go up. They can actually go rook check, and then I would be forced to play king here, and two things happen. One, that hangs the queen. But two, they can go rook check here, and then the king has to come down here, and then we're in some deep trouble. Take this, take that. So the only thing that would actually prevent that from being mate is the fact that the queen is pinned, because otherwise, queen just goes here, mate. So actually, the white king is in some danger here. We have to be aware of that. What I would like to do is go check and get the king to go here, and then we can go check and win the queen. That's pretty neat. So. But that's difficult to do. Even if we did somehow figure out a way to, let's say, pin the queen, that queen is connected to this square. Now, not skewer the queen, but pin the queen, just in any fashion. Maybe the king runs behind it or something. He can actually go check, and then if the king comes here, it's just check again. So there is some chance of like a perpetual check. So. Like for instance, rook check, king here, rook check, king here, rook right back again, back where it came from, check, and then it's just a perpetual with just the rook on account of the fact that the king can't come here and like get out of this little like box he's in. So we have to be careful of that as well. So let's see here. So what if we just try some checks? What if we just try this one? Because it feels like that ought to be actually better than you might think, sacrificing the pawn. So king takes, and then we have this rook check. And my idea is that these squares are all taken away. So let's say the king went here. Let's say the king goes here. Then we actually have this queen check, and only legal move is this one. So then can we try to take the rook somehow or shake the king off of that square? We can go rook check. King would take that rook. We would take the rook, and we're closer to our idea of ending the game by a queen trade. So the king would probably have to go here, and then I think we could go like check and check, and that trades the queens. And once that happens, we can just run this guy. So that's an idea. Here, 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 here. Check, king, rook. King has to take that because otherwise he gets skewered and loses a rook for nothing. Take it, check, and then the king goes to one of these two squares. At which time we can probably just go like check and check, or something like that, or even check and check if it's this square. So a lot of choices there. But which one do we want to try? But the thing is, he doesn't have to check, take, check, and then the king can go back. So we'll have to remember that we can repeat this position, missing a pawn, but having a rook here. This is kind of funny. If I go check, check, and I say, oh no, I'm forked. What do? I can block the pin with my own rook, check. And now not only is the pin broken, but the king is in check, because if the king leaves, then I can take a queen or something, but it's funny because the pawn can take me check. So I check them, they check me, stopping the check. I check them, stopping the check. And then they take me, checking me, stopping the check. So that's pretty funny to me. I don't think that leads to anything, but it's cute, right? So what if we try instead of... So we're not going to try either of these two because I think the queen blocks and I can't see anything past that would lead to a winning game. So what if we try check, and then when the king takes it, we actually go this way? Because I think the rook check doesn't lead to much because they can just go back, and then we have the same issues that we just had. There's no way to check anymore, and yeah, it just doesn't seem like it leads to anything. So check here, check, and now we've got two pieces working in concert with each other, and that looks really, really good. And the thing is, the black queen this time cannot block because the king is not connected to the square. So the king would have to go somewhere else. So let's take some arrows off here. Check here, here. And then the king would have to go to one of these squares. Then what? Well, I think maybe we could then try this idea. And it's a little different this time because now the queen is coordinated with the rook on this square. So, which is f4, of course. So that's a choice. Let's just try it one square at a time here, I guess. So what if they go right back to where they were? This way. So then I think, can we go check? And then they go like this, and then we win the queen, check. That should be okay. So that's losing for them. And then, so what if they go this way? Then I go check. And then we're probably at least at a minimum trading pieces, and that looks good to me because now we have a queen and a rook connected and all that. So that looks pretty darn good. And then I guess we can just finish that out. What happens when they go like, well, we know they can't go king here because again, the rook will skewer the queen. So what if they go here? There's that pin I was telling you guys about, right? But no, I think we'd check and pick up the rook. So that's probably the most likely, and my king is safe. I can take that. So once again, it goes check, take, check. And what leads me to that is the idea that I'm separating the king from his defenses and bringing a queen in with check. So he can't go here, right? Because we go check and then check and then check and then check or take. So that's the main line. And then what if he goes here? Then I think we can just probably do the same idea, right? What am I saying? I can't come here. The rook is not here. Okay. I messed that whole thing up, didn't I? Let's try it again then. King goes back. I cannot go here. The rook has not arrived there yet. I was hallucinating things. So maybe then I bring a rook up. Can I fork somehow some other way? So I think if we did that and he goes back to that square, I have this check available. And then the queen would have to block, right? Ooh, like that. And then do we have any other sorts of checks that are interesting or useful? I know we can go here and we can go here, and that picks up the rook, which is pretty good. But I think when the king leaves, if I go check here, check, king goes right back, I go check, they block, and I go check. Yeah, it looks like a fork, but they actually get out of the fork because they can go to, let's say, I don't know, here or something, and then the queen connects to the rook. So it actually doesn't work. So we have to continue to work at this just a little bit more here. I want to throw out the idea of going rook here first, just to start, because now the queen is hit, and this check doesn't work because I go king here. And then if the king tries to like discover check me, which was the plan in previous lines, the king would move out of the way. That guards the rook. I'm in check. I'm getting mated. It doesn't actually work because the rook will take the checking piece. This is a good tactic for when you're calculating when you are going to get discover checked, is if you just attack that piece that's going to do the checking, the one that is discovered to your king, then you can just take it, and then it's not, then the discover check isn't very powerful anymore because you can definitely get out of it. So my idea with doing this in the first place with the rook is that it takes control of the f6 square. So I go like here or something, and let's say they try to leave with something like this. Okay, now if I'm ever allowed, I can take that actually with check, which is also pretty good. Oh man, that's actually really good. But then I don't know, and comes over. I would love to just be able to figure out this skewer here without getting the queen to block. So is there a way we can pull that off? Um, I'm still working on this line, and I see the queen blocks, and I'm just not thinking that's very helpful here. Because if we take it, I guess I go, if we take that, then I can go check and win another pawn. And then you would think that would be pretty winning, but I don't actually see how it is a win because I think the black rook can just probably take this guy and then get behind him and take him. So that seems to be pretty problematic here. But man, would I just love to be like queen check right here and then rook check right here and then win the queen. But can't do it. There's a rook in the way. So what do you say we try the opposite direction? Instead of using the queen to go like this, what if we try to use the rook to go like that? We already tried rook here, but I don't think we've tried this one. And we haven't really explored this line in great detail. So maybe we ought to have done that. But again, I think the rook just goes, king just goes back. And I didn't see anything that we could do about it that would actually be helpful to us. So, but maybe there is a way. Nah, I'm not seeing it. So anyway, I'll come back to that in a second. But here, check. And then you can't go at any of these squares. You can't go to this one. So your only choices are to go to these two. And that is immediately met with a mate. So that's not much of a choice. But we're back to Phoenix's rule here that says if you are forcing your opponent to make only moves, then that's probably a good idea. So that basically what I'm saying is he has to go back here. So I think that's probably starting to get somewhere because now we go mate. Aha, we found it. Check here. It's this way, not this way, and not this way, but actually there. And then this is a mate here, a swallowtail mate, and this is a mate here. So so you can't take the pawn. So check, king here. Now what? Can we go like check here? And then king goes here or something. Either way, I think maybe I can go like this, check, and then bring the rook over this way. But what if you go here? Maybe I don't have the right answer there, but I feel confident in the first move. I think I'm going to go ahead and play it. If I'm wrong, I think I'm still okay. Yeah, I've been looking at that move the whole time. So we had it right to start with. Now, is it this move? Is it queen here, or do I have something simple? Let's not fall for the same old trick of like, oh, I didn't realize I could fork the rook. Because that would be great. If I could just go here, fork the rook, that would be game over. No issues there. And then if I could go here, that would also be a fork of the rook. So I could go check. Because if king takes it, then I go check here. And then if I go check and the pawn takes it, I go check. And I win their queen. But they do have an advanced pawn with a rook, so that could be a problem too. But I have this check as well, and this one too. I have an instinct that says it's going to be g8 because that allows me to swing to the other side of the board with check, whereas f7 does not allow me to swing to the other side of the board with check. So I feel like I need to point out that if it's not, why are we checking so much? Well, because queen can just take this pawn, and then it's actually quite dangerous, right? And then like rook over is going to be a mate or mate right away. There's also this threat if my rook moves away. So lots of problems here. We can't allow that pawn to hang. So that's why we're looking at checks. I would guess it's this or this. So I think we finally get what we wanted out of this. If I go here, we get this skewer, and then rook can block, and we'll take that. And if king goes here, then we go check here, and we pick up a rook. And I think we can get out of checks this time. And then finally, if anything blocks on this square, we can take it. So I'm pretty sure it's this one. I don't think this, after we go like this, I'm not seeing much in the way of tactics, but at least we're maintaining good control of some important squares. I think I'm going to do it. Yep, that's right. And now I assume I fork. Yeah, perfect. Got it. Ha! Very good. That's 56. That's a 2980 puzzle. And yeah, honestly, that was not that hard. It was just a lot to kind of calculate because we had so many options there. So I have the opportunity to en passant, and I'm guessing that is the answer, actually. It should be. Let's see, take, and then you could go here, I guess, but then and I just check you here, and isn't that a mate? That's a mate, right? A weird looking mate. I don't know that I've ever seen that kind of thing. Yeah, but if I en passant and you refuse to take it, if you go here, it's mate. And then if I en passant and you take it, I go check. And the bishop has to block. If the bishop blocks, let's just say the bishop does block, I go here, check, and I take this. So that's an option. And then is there anything else I could do? Because I also have this check too. But let's stick with one line at a time. Take, check, block, attack, check. King has to go here. And then I actually am not seeing any future lines there. I should note that we are down a queen and a bishop for just one rook. So we do have to mate. That is the problem. So we take here and they take back. And I'm pretty sure the only opportunity I have is to check here. Bishop blocks. And then if I go like... Yeah, I'm not seeing another way to get out of this. Because if I check, they go back in the corner. And that seems like a good defense to me. This seems like a perfectly fine defense. Because there's no way... I can't take the bishop. I can't take a pawn. I can't do anything. So I'm guessing it's not going to be the en passant move. What if I go rook check? They block with the bishop. Then I want to take it, but I can't. I'm trying to attack the bishop on f6 a lot, but it turns out I think the queen can just defend. Now, there aren't any threats against the white king. Like, this is not possible, and this takes too long, and things like that. But I'm trying to go something like take king, and then I pin the piece. But then there's just this queen comes back and defends it, and I don't think there's anything further I can do about that. Also important to note is that I can't do something like attack the queen, because forget, like, yes, the queen can go here and try to threaten me or stuff, but it can just take my rook. And if I take back, I'm down a piece. I'm down a bishop. So that's losing, and this is going to hang. So that's not possible. So forget anything where I attack the queen and expect the queen to do anything but take my rook. So how about if we just go check and then take and then check, and then the bishop just comes back and blocks again. Now, that's not going to work. So I did realize that there is a potential kind of mate if I have a rook here, the bishop's there, and I can check here. Because then the forced move is the bishop has to block. And then it becomes pinned, and I can push a pawn up and attack that pinned piece. And also I can just, of course, take the bishop this way and win the piece. So there's some ideas there. But it's going to be probably one of these things. I'm guessing these are the 4 moves I have to think about. Here's something really, really weird. I assumed I couldn't take the bishop because that doesn't carry much of a threat. And then I realized, well, actually, yeah, a mate threat, right? But I said, my brain just rejected this because I said, well, so what? Like, black will just defend that, like, with a queen or something. And then I thought, he's defending the mate, but also threatening my own king. But that's when I realized that this check isn't so bad, because if I get checked, I go here, and if they check again, I just go here, and there aren't any more checks. And there isn't any much they can do. They can go, like, I guess here or something like that, but or one of these squares threatening to check on this diagonal, but then I can just, again, I can continue to move. So I'm not actually positive that taking the bishop is off limits, because I'm not so sure that queen c7 defends. For instance, take here, rook over. But the reason I'm not sold on this move at all is because, again, if I take the bishop and they give up a queen for a rook, I'm not necessarily winning anything. I do think I'm winning the endgame. If we trade off everything, I'm winning the endgame. So there is a good chance that that's the right answer. But still, it seems like it's taking a bishop seems like that's not the wisest idea. But But again, if I go check and I try to like park here, I can at least, go something like this and work on that kind of piece of the puzzle there. Sometimes you have to calculate ridiculous lines because they lead you not to a good move, but because they teach you something about the position. So I just said, okay, how do I mate with a rook, two rooks anyway? Like, how many different ways are there? And of course, we all know the ladder mate, the rank mate, but there's the file mate, which is the same thing, just turn 90 degrees. But there's this other one I was thinking of, which is you can keep the rooks close to the king as long as they're supported by a pawn. And I had told you earlier, I think I could go like rook check, and then like there's some other ways to mate with this. Um, Imagine the bishop isn't here and the white rook is here and the other rook is here. Then I could go just rook up his mate, right? Something like that. So I'm wondering if I go check and the bishop blocks, if I stab it with a pawn, because I know that if I have a pawn here and a rook here, and then the king has to be in the corner. And either of these directions, a check from either direction is going to be mate. And additionally, I know that I can actually mate with a rook on the outside too. For example, if there is a pawn here and a rook here and a rook here, I can go, basically, I can go check and the king goes this way. And then I can go, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said a rook here. And then I can mate this way. So basically, pawn, rook, rook is the end formation. But the point is I can swing around that way. So I'm wondering if I go check here and then stab it with a pawn. And now the idea is that pawn is also super advanced, but when I take it, that bishop, I also have this rook check. Don't forget the pawn is supported by a rook, so then I can promote to queen. So in other words, rook, pawn, and rook here, I'll go, I'm just dreaming here, is pawn takes bishop, and then if it's my move again, rook check and promote. And that's actually going to be a triple file mate. Rook, queen, and rook. So that's my current idea. And I honestly, I think this is a good one. And I found this by my rule from earlier. If you can check a king and they only have one legal reply, it's probably the correct answer. So I'm guessing that's it. And then I go here. Now, how do they defend this? Well, I'm just still worried about like a queen back again. But I guess I could just take the queen for free. And then actually, what am I talking about? This time I can take the queen for free. Earlier, they were defending something from a rook that wasn't on the 7th rank. They were defending a threat. The rook was here, and they were defending a threat of rook c7. This time, my rook is already on c7, so now you can't take it. It's the pawn that's late to the party, not the rook. The rook's already there. Okay, check, here, here. You can't play any of these squares, so you threaten mate. Let's say you threaten mate. I have to do everything with check, so I guess I go checkmate. That was easy. That was easy. I didn't see that one. I think I'm going to play this because I don't see anything else you can do. Yeah? Uh-huh. Now, is it take? And then if so, what do I do next? I don't want to blow this on the very last move, but, I can take in Jacob's ladder, mate. Yeah, I go here. I go here threatening to promote with mate. And you don't have any checks. I definitely take this because you can't take my rook because queen and then king and then rook is checkmate. Again, I'm not sure that it's actually called Jacob's ladder. I think I just made that up. But it's basically a ladder where you have a queen and a rook, and the rook goes up, then the queen goes up, then the rook goes up, then the queen goes up, then the rook goes up, then the queen goes up, and you hit all these squares left, right, left, right, left, right, as if you're climbing a ladder. So I think that is what this trick is. I'm pretty sure I go here because I'm threatening mate, and you can't do anything about that, right? Heck yeah. Well, yeah, you can do that. Of course you can do that. We did it. We did it. Oh, man, that took a while. I had to imagine all the different mates I've ever seen. All right. How about if we go and we trade the queens, what happens? If we trade the queens, I think black is winning this race. Yeah. But if this pawn is out of the way, I can go like this, and I'm in the square of the pawn. So that's an idea. So we can try this, and we can try this. It's even material, of course. So what if I go here? Check, king, check, king back, check again, king goes back again, and we don't have anything. Is there a way I can fork a king here? Because if queen took and I took back, I could step into the square and then this guy will queen. But that seems fanciful. I don't think that's really a solution here. So, all right, let's try this check and then king here and then check. But again, king back. What if I go check? Aha. What if I go check here and then here? And now it's threatening mate twice. Here, but also here. Ooh, could that be it? Check. And then king up. And then I go here because there's no checks from the black queen. This is the shadow technique. Phoenix's shadow technique says you find a place where your king is shielded along a rank file and diagonal. So if I go queen and king, I'm shielded on the file, I'm shielded on the diagonal. And the thing is about the rank, yeah, my rank is available, but your queen can't get to it. So I think I found it. Check. King up. And I'm threatening two things. I'm threatening check, king in the corner mate, but I'm also threatening back corner mate. So I don't see anything you can do about that, because this queen is the only thing that's reasonable to move, and you have to defend this square, and you can't. You just can't. Yeah. So you're just going to pin me and give me your own queen. There you go. That was simple. Much easier. And the reason for that one is we just were able to see it easier because there were just fewer things to look at. Okay, this, are you kidding me? How was this one very difficult? So that was a 3,000 level puzzle, everybody. 3,054. You just got to know your techniques and know what you're looking for. Okay, are we down material? Oh, no, we're not. We're missing a light squared bishop, and they're missing their knight. So I assume this is going to be check, move, and then is this going to be, since this is a high rated puzzle, it must not be knight here. That must be like the trick. That must be wrong or something. Is it rook takes that? Is it rook takes because then when pawn takes, I take here check, and the king is forced to go here. And then I have bishop check. No, that can't be right. Well, this must be the first move, right? I mean, probably. Pawn blocks, and then, yeah, I'm guessing it is rook takes, and then check. At the very least, it wins. I can take my rook back with no danger to my own king, right? So that must be leading to mate. I would rather have the knight in the center of the board controlling squares around the king than have a rook over here doing nothing. So let's try it again. Check here, take. Oh, no, not that. Take. And then I'm going to try, okay. Pawn takes, and then let's try taking here. Check. King must go here. Bishop check. Wins the queen. Knight blocks. We can actually just take that, I think. We take it with the queen. Maybe. Or do we take it with the... I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one we take it with, but that's the move. I'm pretty sure we take it with the rook. Because, I mean, what else are you going to do, right? It's the same idea. You have to accept it, or else you are just definitely losing. So yeah, let's take it with the rook. That was easy. If you're curious why you can't just take with the knight, why can't you take with this knight? Because knight f6 hits the queen. And then there's, remember when I told you a couple puzzles ago that you can't actually, you can't do a discover check for value if you're checking pieces under attack. And the way to get out of a discovered check like this is to attack the checking piece. So back here, when rook takes, if they tried this, it wouldn't work. We could take that. Okay. And now it's actually going to be mate, I think. King e7 and this, and then do we go rook? Yeah, we go rook. Do we have more than one? No, it's just, that's the only one, right? Yeah, that's the only mate in one. And so that's the difference. So for future reference, if there's a knight here, usually when this happens, the knight's gone. That's why you're allowed to play queen in the first place. So here you want to take with a rook, and then take back, and then check, and then what if king goes here? Then, like I said, we're going to go bishop g5, And then when the king goes this way, what do we have? Just take the queen, right? I think we just take the queen. Oh, okay. Computer wants us to go here and take the queen. Okay, whatever. We can take the queen either way. And in fact, yeah, either way is fine. Okay, back to puzzles. All right, what do we got here? We're down 2 pawns. This guy and this guy. And otherwise even material. So what are the targets? This is undefended, and my gosh, isn't it ever? So I get to finally introduce you to Phoenix's rule. Phoenix's rule says in a puzzle, if something is under attack and it is not defended, in other words, if it's a target that is over attacked, you should probably just take it right away. For some reason, that always seems to be the right answer. But there's also this idea. And the idea there is that it controls the G3 square. So when the rook takes check and the rook goes here, we can actually already have it attacked. So maybe I want to block it first. This would be the first instance where Phoenix's rule doesn't work that I've seen actually live. Now we have the ability to take the bishop, but the bishop is defended twice, and usually Phoenix's rule also says if it's defended twice and attacked once, chances are it's probably wrong. So, but what else is a target? So this is a target, this is a target. And as we know, 2 targets on a line, we want to put a rook or queen on that line. What else is a target? This is the target. So we may want to put a bishop here on this line. And it's a target because it's attacked once and defended once. It's attacked once and defended once. So that's why we want to probably mark it as a target. So we have this, this, and this. This is not a target. It's defended twice. So we have here and we have here. Okay. We can definitely attack a target like this. We can attack a target like this and in fact take it. Usually, again, Phoenix's rule says if you can take a target, you probably should. And then the other idea I have is check. And then we have this discover in the back, which is almost a back rank mate. But there's 2 issues with that. 1, the bishop can drop back. 2, the king can come up. And then we don't have any more threats. So what if I went check and then block and then check and then the king comes up and then I don't see a way to advance the game from there because he's on a light square and we're out of targets. So what if I go here and then here and then here and then they block and that's bad. Okay, that's dumb. Let's not do that. What if check and block and then I go here and then they take my rook and they take their queen? What if check and then they block and then I attack here and they take my bishop? That's dumb too. They would lose. Well, maybe they wouldn't actually. Maybe they can give up the queen, and when I take the queen, they take my rook. And then do I have a follow-up to that? No. I don't have any follow-up to that. So I think this is pretty bad. And I'm going to guess that's why I can't take this first. Because they will have the option of either taking the rook or taking the bishop. So if I go here first, they can't take me because I never sacked the rook here. I never put a rook in rook. Right? We never played these 2 moves. So they don't have the option of taking my rook. So I'm going to guess it's bishop first, and then I'm going to go here. And then I'm going to go here. That looks pretty good to me. What can you do back to me? Nothing, really. My king is so well protected, right? There's no way in. There's no way in to me. So I'm going to guess it's here. And then where's the queen going to go? Probably there to defend that pawn. Then, oh, that doesn't work. I go check. And I have a discovery against any queen that's right there. But that doesn't make any sense. Here. Can I throw the bishop away? Check. Take. And then like, check here. Oh, I would go here. No. Rook would block on h3. And then I don't have anything. There's nothing to be gained there. So the thing I like about puzzles that are over 3,100 is they almost play like real games. So if you just kind of, you don't necessarily look for tactics, you just build pressure or something like that, you can often just find the answer. And I feel like this is really good because it attacks 2 different things and one of them is a check. So I think if queen goes here, I think we can just build up on that pressure. Now we're pressuring that for real. And it's starting to get, it's like a fork, right? We're forking multiple things here. And so Yeah, it's got to be this. This is just so classic of an idea. If they take this pawn, we go check. And they have to, if they block, we can take that and be winning. And if they don't take that, I also have this check in the back here. So that looks like it's fantastic. For instance, here, check, king in the corner, queen check, throw the rook away, I take it, throw the bishop away, I take that too, and it's mate. So we found a checkmate. So what else can we do? I don't think we can go here. We can't go here with the queen. That seems silly as well. Can we go here? Here, is there a reason you can't take it? No, I don't see any reason why. So yeah, I do think it's probably this bishop move. Now, what about this? Does that trap a queen? No, anything like queen back is fine for white, and we don't need to go retreating pieces, right? Okay, I haven't figured this one out, but I do think I want to go here. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to think that through, and then we're going to play it. I kind of like this line. Bishop, queen, queen. They try to guard the pawn. Then we check. They move over. And then we actually sneaky and slow play rook. So we have a queen and a rook here attacking that guy. So that's got to be pretty darn good. And it's two different checkmates being threatened there. Well, one is the queen, obviously. But also we can go rook check. And then when the king moves over, we go check. And then it's the ladder mate. So that's an idea. I think it's this one. And I think I'm just going to play it. I haven't figured it all out yet, but I think I'm going to play it. It does activate a piece with tempo. Please be correct. I want 60 right. Oh, dang it. 31.99, that one. Okay. Show me the answer. Is it rook takes first? It is. Phoenix's rule holds, everybody. There you go. Wow, Phoenix's rule was correct. If you can take it, you should take it. Only in puzzles is that true. Only in puzzles. So there it is right there. And if rook blocks. So if rook blocks that, then what do we do? And we still play bishop c5, threatening this. And if they take my rook, then we play queen takes h2, and they go here, and then we can play probably here, right? Oh, queen f3 first, of course, duh. Right there, and then we play, we just do, this is like a common thing. If they block with the rook, we take it. So they're going to block with the bishop, then we take, and then it's mate. Yeah, that's like just a typical kind of thing. Right here. If you don't know this pattern, you should know it. Check. And it fixes a rook on the diagonal. And as long as you have this other square covered, you basically are just going to back rank them. Like you're using the rook to seal, to create that back rank formation, and then you're just going to work your way in and take the final piece, which is going to be the rook. So that's a good pattern to know. So yeah, that was that instinctual. That should be correct. And then what's actually hard is king f1. You've got to see this idea, skewering the rook to this pawn, and then there's nothing they can do about that. So you're threatening to take the rook because the pawn is pinned. So very good puzzle there. And I want to get to 60, and I have to get this next one right. So let's see what we got here. We've got two rooks and a queen, and a very, very, very vulnerable king. But we could take twice here as well. So take, and the queen takes, and then we can go like check or something like that. I don't know. I probably want to check like right here, or even bring the rook up and over. This is an interesting one because we could take the rooks, or we could go this way and come and then have that attack. So my first instinct is to not do any of that since my rook is fine. It's protected. So I want to play rook queen f4 because the black queen just deserted this position. So I want to take it. And I would love it if I could play queen g5 because it'd be check. And the king, it went there, and I can take this f pawn with check. And then it's a simple matter of just rook up and over is checkmate. So a queen here and a rook here is mate. And I mean, I could also try to mate on h7 in the same sort of style, put a queen and rook here. That would work as well. But probably it's going to be queen f4, check. And then maybe if the king goes in the corner, we take. But what if they take me here? Do I go check here, forcing the king into the corner, and then I take a rook back again? And then I continue the attack? It could be. So those are my ideas. I think I want to go here and then take and then take. Sorry, take here. But I also have this pawn that can hang as well. And notice that if I play queen f4, it covers the c1 square from any checks from the black queen. So here, take, rook takes, check is not possible because I cover that square. Furthermore, I wish I could, speaking of the c1 square, wish I could go rook over, but they can take my rook, and I would say I take the queen, and then they can take mine. Take my rook, and then I'm actually not better. They have two stranded rooks, and I don't have any sort of way to attack them both on the immediate move, so it's probably not a very efficient method of working. But one idea is if I had a queen or rook here and a queen here, now it's not possible. Because if my queen were already here, rook here, they take my rook, I take their queen, they take mine and say, ha, I get two rooks for the queen, yay. But then I go check, picking up one of the two rooks and winning the game. So that's pretty cool. So another reason why queen f4 is good. So basically it's a fork of a couple things. So that's an idea. I don't know yet though. So I've looked at a lot of things here. Rook doesn't work because of the reason we described. One thing I would have loved to do is to try to be coordinated on this square or this one, because we could also go check and then the king moves check and take a rook that's here, if it is here. But what if I played rook up and they took my rook and then I've checked with the rook on this square, because then the king goes this way and then I can threaten checkmate. I was looking at f4 the whole time, forking the f6 pawn and the c1 pawn, but actually what occurs to me is that I can actually do that from the f6 square. So I really like this. Now, the two red X's I've gotten so far have been moves that I didn't understand what they did tactically. They just felt right. But this one feels correct now tactically, because my threat is rook up, take, check, and your only legal move is this. And then I go here, and you can't actually defend this pawn, right? Because you can't play rook over. So your only then move is queen here, but then I can attack your queen. Now you're definitely getting skewered. And the whole threat is if I have a rook here and a queen here, this is mate, but also I could in other circumstances, like if there's a rook here, I could go check, king moves, and then I mate here. So I don't have to have a rook here and mate on f6. I could have a queen here and mate on g3, rook g3. So either way will work. And I'm wondering if it's going to be rook e3, hanging a rook. Queen, you have to defend the mate. Queen here. And then, I mean, at a minimum, I could take your rook back, because it's still on the, I guess it would be here, right? But I have more options. Oh my gosh, what am I saying? Rook, take, here. Yeah. Rook, take, check, king, queen. And then, by the way, I should point out that rook g8 doesn't work. Check, block, take is mate. So, yeah, here, take, check, king, queen, f. And now I was thinking somehow I could take this rook, but no, I cannot. Are you kidding me? It's over here. You silly. So, yeah, let's try then, I think probably queen back, or rook back, I mean. Of course, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to mate. Let's mate here. No! Oh my god. I even said so many times queen c1 is covered. I moved too fast. I had my 60, everybody. What did I do? I clicked it too much. I clicked it way too fast. I had 60. I can't believe that. It was a 3200 puzzle. I did this a couple runs ago too. I misclicked when I'd had it solved. The problem was I was just getting too tired. Because now 50 minutes into this, and I even told you that the reason I wanted to go to queen h6 was because it forks the c1 square and the f6 pawn. I hung my queen there, everybody, in case you don't realize why that's losing. My queen on h6 is hanging. Touch move. It's like a digital touch move. All that work. Okay. Well, I'm better at chess for having done these problems. Having solved this one was still something that I can be proud of. I solved it. I didn't click it, but I think I've got it on video. Speaking of clicking things, why don't you go click the like button while you, if you feel bad for me, click the like button because, oh my God, that hurts. We can't do anything about it. We have to just move on. This is not the first time in my chess career that I've like just either not click something. I usually play over the board with actual pieces. Just, throwing away a perfectly good win because I feel like pressured or excited about something and let it get to me and move too quick here. So that's kind of sad that I didn't get there. Put in a lot of work. I solved 60 puzzles, only get credit for 59. Needed 2 more to break my all-time streak, but it's a video game. At the end of the day, chess is a game. I feel like my brain really grew. So we wanted to take that, of course. My brain is bigger than it was before. I think that I learned 2 things in this run that I really need to hunt the king and then turn my attention to the other side of the board and not lose sight of the fact that I can double back. Like I can attack a king and then come back. And, it's kind of fitting because that happened to me here. It happened on the 2283 puzzle, as we know. It was that I failed to see, I saw all of this. And then I failed to see that the correct solution was not here or bringing in a rook or pinning a rook, but it was actually just the simple check, picking up a rook. And so I was looking this way instead of looking over here at the end of the puzzle. And my eyes and my instincts in this last one had me looking here. And thinking I'm just going to mate on this square or this one if I just saved the king. And of course, forgot that the entire point of this whole thing was to come back. So I know what I need to work on. I'm going to develop this skill. I hope you've developed some skills from this as well. I hope you've hit the like button. I hope you subscribe so that you can watch this the next time we do another run here. I'm not going to quit training. I've been training for 30 years now. And, I haven't made master. I've made expert once or twice. And I hope that you find it in you to get better at chess as well and to dig deep and not do what I just did and throw it all away at the last second. So bring your best. I will certainly bring my best. I will certainly continue to try to make good videos for you guys. And so I still had fun. And I definitely hope you had fun. So I'll see you for the next one.